Get up. Get up. Get up.
What is up, Mets fans? Welcome back to episode number 125 of the Mets'd podcast. Just wrapped up a series against the Pittsburgh Pirates that, let's be honest, didn't start out that great. Feeling a little weird after game one, especially what happened against the Nationals the last few games. But luckily, we got the doubleheader. The boys played well, and we end up winning the series. Technically, finish the day, when you're listening to this in the morning, in sole possession of first place again in the National League East, which is a big W. Of course, we're going to talk about everything that went on in this Pittsburgh Pirates series, as well as it's fantasy football time. So James is a fantasy guy. That's like his job. And I had some fantasy drafts. John had some fantasy drafts. We'll talk about that too for a little bit, give you guys the estimate, and then preview the upcoming series against the Marlins. So if you are enjoying what you're seeing and listening here, make sure you follow us on all our social medias at Mets'd. That'll be on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. If you're looking for the YouTube version of this, check out the New York Mets YouTube channel. You'll be able to find us there. And if you're listening to us, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts, drop us a rating, drop us a review, download, and subscribe. James, back in the apartment in New York, how we feeling?
Feeling very good. I kind of imagine if you were a Mets fan who got a concussion last Friday morning and then you just woke up today, 6 days later, okay, wow, decent week, I guess.
Yeah, as weird as it was to start the week, because after the two bad losses to the Nationals and then the loss to the Pirates in game one, the sky was falling, felt the realest it had felt all year. Not with us necessarily, not with us, because of course we're very sane, we're very calm over here. But in the Mets world, it felt like people were going crazy.
Yeah, it was a little scary for a couple of days. Mets fans were just freaking out after their team lost their third game in a row for the third time in the entire season. You're having an amazing season of baseball when people freak out for losing 3 games in a row. I know there was more context. These were two of the worst teams in the National League, and the team wasn't scoring any runs. And Max Scherzer left to start early, and Starling Marte got hit by a pitch. But it was still just crazy. Three games in a row for the third time all year. That's a shocking stat. And one of those 3 times was over the All-Star break. So it's hard to even count that as 3 losses in a row.
No, one of the words we never really use on here is panic, and people were panicking. People were going crazy after game one. And like you said, it kind of all snowballed and kind of felt like there was an avalanche coming, even though, again, the team has still got 85 wins and is still in first place. And it's still
88, I believe.
Oh, 88. Yeah, that's 88. Whatever it is, however many wins they have. They're still doing really, really well. So, I mean, the panic should never have been there, but it was for a little bit. And luckily, the Mets ended the series on a high. But like we said, we started off with game one, which was not good.
No, game one was bad. And I have to put my hand up for this little losing streak, Mets fans, because I went from Columbus on Saturday and Sunday, which I told you guys about, so I wasn't super invested in that Mets National Series. I didn't watch. Saturday was probably the second or third time this entire year where I literally didn't watch 1 second of a game because it was on the exact same time as Ohio State. Sunday I was doing things. Monday was the rain out. We hung out after I got home from my flight. Perfectly timed to try and watch the game. Rained out. Allegedly wasn't much rain, so that stinks.
Not allegedly wasn't much rain. Allegedly there was no rain. As Howie and Wayne were tweeting, they were not a drop of rain yet in Pittsburgh. I feel like the worst part about that is that there were so many Mets fans that went to Pittsburgh because it's a relatively easy drive to go to, and PNC is a great park. Mm-hmm. And it was Labor Day, no school yet. So this was a great opportunity for Mets fans to go see the Mets play in a different park. But because of the rain out that happened with no rain, all those people just did not get to see a game because you got to go home the next day.
That was almost us. That was really close to literally being us. I would not have able to been there the next day. And then Tuesday, I just got busy doing stuff, whatever. Was at a celebratory dinner, was watching the game a little bit, but I was just sitting at a table where my back was to the screen, so I couldn't see much. So I was turn around, 2-0. Turn around, 4-0. All right, and whatever. But got back into the games today, watched every single pitch or listened to them every single game, and that was wonderful. But game one, just got to run through it quickly. It was bad.
Yeah.
Starling Marte got hit by a pitch on his hand. We now know that was a non-displaced fracture, and shockingly, he's listed as day-to-day.
Okay. Starling Marte's a warrior. I mean...
And this also worked. There's kind of a trend of Mets players this year, going back to when Lindor basically got the same injury in a door in San Francisco, and then Jeff McNeil screaming about the laceration on his thumb for 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
we got some warriors here trying to play through some stuff. So that was bad. Now we know that absolute catastrophe has been avoided, but still not the best thing in the world. Hope Starling's back soon. Luckily, we have a lot of great depth in this team, which we'll talk about later. But sadly, the Pirates ran it up on Taiwan. He gave up 6 hits, 2 walks, and 4 earned, and 5 really, really difficult innings. Even with that much action, I think he only ended up throwing about 80 pitches, which shows the Pirates are just swinging.
Well, I think also they said at one point Taiwan developed a blister on his hand and he was not really able to throw that split finger, which would also...
That would make sense because all of those splitters were like dead center.
Yeah, and that he was basically like, I couldn't get the feel, so he didn't have the control, which led to, like you said, the splitter not being as accurate because it was working really well early in the game. He threw a couple early in the game where I was like, oh, that splitter's working. We got Taiwan cooking here, but it, fell apart once the blister came out.
His slider wasn't really getting any whiffs either, and also was just lost like all of its horizontal movement. The slider literally was not sliding. And then looked back after the game, and the movement was down basically every single pitch, and the velocity was down almost every single pitch. And we all have like these nightmarish reactions to this because we saw Taiwan have such a good first half last year, and then all of a sudden things just went bad and it seemed like it was fatigue. So we have like a little deja vu there, but maybe not because of that blister stuff. So that's something that you can, hold your head up about. Also, I talked about how good I thought Rodolfo Castro was, and he had a moonshot. Oh, that was rough.
I mean, there was a couple moonshots in this game. Not to talk about the Pirates too much, but this is the only time.
A little bit because give them some.
No, they've beat the Mets and they've beat the Dodgers this year, two of the best teams in baseball. So you got to give them a little tip of the cap here once in a while.
The Dodgers this year and crushed the Mets last year.
In LA, they swept the Dodgers of all places. But Rodolfo hit that big home run, and Oneil Cruz did Oneil Cruz stuff where he hit that ball into the Allegheny on an absolute line. Like that ball got out of the stadium so fast and like barely above, but way gone.
He has like some of the weirdest home run swings in all of baseball. Like this was like a weird like lunge, one hand, and it just like smoked it. It ended up being 113 or 115 because Oneil Cruz in this game had exit velocities 115.3, 113.4, 110.9, 108.9. Just the sixth time in the entire StatCast era that one player had 4 balls in play over 108 miles an hour in one game. And this is the second time this year that happened. Interestingly, both of those times came against the Mets. Can you remember the other player this year who had 4 balls of play of over 108 miles an hour against the Mets?
That's hit so hard. I'm going to go with Christian Walker.
You're going to hate yourself that you got that wrong because it's a very obvious answer.
Giancarlo?
No.
Aaron Judge?
Jock Peterson.
Oh, the game.
How long ago that was?
The game that basically made him an all-star this year. Yeah,
literally the single game that made him an all-star. One of the game of games, as Dennis Reynolds would say.
Oh, man, Jock Peterson. That Giant series feels like eons ago. I'm going to throw the word eon out there. SAT word of the day for you guys.
It was May. It's basically 2 seasons ago. We missed all of summer. That was spring, and now it kind of feels like fall.
Season's been canceled like 3 times by some people on Twitter at this point. So
like 4. By that point, the Mets had only lost 3 games in a row, I think once.
It's a career. It's ridiculous. Like maybe this is a little out of pocket or unhinged, but Oneil Cruz does really, really cool stuff. Like he hits the ball really far. He has an absolute hose of an arm, but it's like not good looking. Like nothing looks particularly good. Like you watch like some guys hit, you watch some guys like field, and you're like, man, he's smooth. He's got a great left-handed swing. Like Oneil Cruz, I'm not saying doesn't play baseball well, but like his stuff looks so awkward. And I don't know if it's just because he's like 6'8" and 180 pounds or whatever he is, but he's so gangly. It's like watching a baby deer play baseball.
He's just a really, really good baby deer at baseball, though. He's
or like a baby giraffe, maybe more so.
like an adolescent giraffe. he might be really good. And the last few weeks, he has turned it on. Like for the batting average, people who still cite his bad batting average, he's like 270 over his last 15 games. Which if he ever hit 270 in this season, he would win the MVP.
He'd be a stud.
I do remember. I believe it was like a month ago, him making a comment or remark about him starting to go to a private hitting instructor, which is hilarious. He finally gets major league game checks. And then he starts buying better instruction that possibly the Pirates haven't given him. And then he starts going crazy. Reed Detmer's famous a couple years ago for having private pitching instruction because the Angels probably don't do that much pitching instruction in general.
Allergic to analytics.
Yeah, now he's like a pretty solid starting pitcher. I think he's like a 3.5 ERA, 1.15 WHIP on the whole season. But O'Neill's just he's not a finished product yet, but he does so many things so well that it's just like if it ever clicks, like it's going to be freaky.
He's fascinating to watch.
He's a spectacle.
Like he made one play in this game that was a ground ball up the middle that he had the guy, I think it might have been from Vogelback, that he had him out by 70 feet because the ball got to him quickly. And he spiked a throw so hard to Michael Chavis, who made this like crazy scoop
I remember that exact play. I don't think that was Vogie. I think that might have been Pete. But
maybe it was Pete. Yeah, I don't remember now.
I was nervous about that one because the estimate, which I did eventually lose, we'll get to that later, by like a freaking hair. But I was like, oh, that's going to be the one that's like 96.5 miles an hour. But the bounce definitely saved me.
Yeah, it's 100%.
Moment.
Yeah, he does interesting stuff. I mean, really, at the end of the day, was a bad game. You move on, especially now knowing what happened in the next games afterwards. Game 1, we don't have to talk too much about, except maybe the discourse afterwards.
Yeah, the discourse, and also in between these games, that's when Max Scherzer went on the IL.
Yeah.
So like the 3 straight losses coupled with that, plus the not knowing about Starling Marte, who's been one of the best players in the team all year and immediately become a fan favorite. People were freaking out. They're listening right now. Like our Mets'd group chat, people were losing their minds.
Yeah, no, there was talk of craziness going on in the Mets'd group chat. So of the viewers that are our loyal listeners, shout out to you guys. You know who you are. But I mean, luckily we're not part of the craziness, I gotta say, because I think it is really easy at times to get swept into the craziness that can be being a Mets fan, especially when everyone's really like laying it on thick of like the season's over. Like it doesn't even make sense to me to say that.
There was one particularly crazy fan that I want to shout out, and I'm not going to call him a hero because I'm not going to like talk about anything about his morality, but one of my favorite entertainers of all time, Jerry Seinfeld.
Yeah.
He's a quintessential old man at this point because he's just like really old, like huge guy from New York. Like he plays the part. Like Jerry Seinfeld was never good at acting. It's because he just never really had to act. SNY tweeted late at night that after the Braves had held off the Oakland Athletics, which was a crazy game. Almost insane they won that game.
10-9. The Oakland A's scored 9 runs and lose. That's messed up. The Braves working their voodoo magic again.
They always have voodoo magic. But SNY tweeted that now is a virtual tie for first place. Not virtual tie, an actual tie for first place. First time since April 11th that the Mets were not in sole possession of first. Jerry Seinfeld comments on the post. I blame that stupid trumpet performance. Celebrating in season. We haven't won anything yet. Bad mojo. Same as when Baja Men showed up to play Who Let Dogs Out in 2000 World Series. Series ended right there.
Dude, Baja Men, Who Let the Mets Out? That was an electric song. I remember hearing that on the radio as a kid. And you're going to tell me I don't remember that, but I do. Who let the Mets out?
And Mark remembers it. 4-year-old Mark remembers screaming that. But it's just memories. I think this encapsulated the way a lot of Mets fans felt on late night on Tuesday. And I'm not going to say there weren't like these feelings in my head of being like, this stinks. Like I wish we would have won some of these games against awful teams. But it was also very much let's just play baseball the next day because it's baseball and like people win games. Like even the Pirates, as bad as they've been all year, they like a 35% winning percentage.
Yeah.
So like you're going to win 1 out of 3 games generally in all your series. The Nationals, who have been abysmal for months, just Joey Meneses has come up and been a lightning rod team. They're about to beat the Cardinals in this series.
Are they going to sweep the series or just win the series?
No, 1 game. Cardinals actually are rallying in the 9th right now, but it's 5-2. But it would take a pretty seismic collapse for them to lose this game.
Yeah, the whole season is over thing. We'll never get on board with that when we have as many wins as we do have. It's just, like we said in last episode, it's really annoying that we can't, or some fans, I guess, can't truly enjoy this season because we have the Braves breathing down our necks. But the season really is like 99% been incredible.
99.7% incredible. The Mets have a chance to be for like the 3rd time in franchise history to win more than 100 games, I believe it is. And it's like, it's a freak out because the Braves are playing like 772% winning baseball since June 1st, which you can't do anything about that. All we could have done about that is beat the Braves more than they beat us, and we have done that. Yeah. So just keep going, just keep playing these teams and keep winning. And now we finally did get to those winning ways ahead of Wednesday's doubleheader, and that started with like the biggest exhale moment and of maybe all season for a lot of Mets fans when Jeff McNeil, known cleanup hitter, hit a very average sacrifice fly in the first inning. Yeah, we got the Nimmo got on, Pete hit the double down the line, so we had 2nd and 3rd, nobody out. And all of a sudden, like, Lindor got out, and you're like, okay. McNeil gets up. Jeff went 0-2 as well.
Yeah, he went 0-2, and you're like, Jeff doesn't ever strike out. Like, he's got to put the ball in play, right? Somewhere. Got the fly out to center field, like you said. I felt great because I bet before the game that we're going to get a over on the runs in the first inning. So that was like, the way that they played the game before, I was like, they have to come out swinging. They have to come out swinging, and it's Dwayne Underwood. Like, I mean, you could hit Dwayne Underwood.
Dwayne Underwood actually, I think, has a very good changeup, if I remember correctly. Like that's an out pitch for him.
That would be the worst thing he could ever throw us because we're going to be so late on the fastball. He's speeding up the swing by throwing us a changeup. I would love to see his changeup.
The Mets also did that classic thing where we had a closed door meeting. So you only get a few times to do that, like all season. I don't think they've done it yet this year. So very good time to use that bullet by Buck Showalter.
You need to have one closed door meeting a year because like it's a reset. It gets everybody's mind back on track what you need to do, and it seems like maybe the Mets needed that a little bit. So good job by Hill skipper there, Buck Showalter, using it at the right scenario.
And we talked about this only being the third time the Mets lost 3 games in a row all season. Game 2 was so good, staved off them losing 4 games in a row for the only time all season because they haven't done it. I said I totally botched that, but the Mets haven't lost 4 games in a row all season. And stopped it.
That wasn't a difficult sentence to say. You overthought it.
I completely botched it. But whatever. I want to talk about Chris Bassitt. I want to talk about him for a few minutes because this was a masterful start by him, one of his best of the entire season. 7 innings, 10 Ks, 1 earned, just 5 hits and 1 walk. He was just getting more swings and misses than he had his last 5 starts. He had kind of gone away from the strikeout ball. It looked like got a little more trying for him in the last month or so, dating back to June and July when things seemed very easy. He had 15 whiffs on 52 swings. So it's 15 whiffs tied for the third most he's had to start all year. Hilariously, though, his sinker was most thrown pitch and had just 0 whiffs.
Interesting.
Yes.
I mean, a sinker's not a big whiff pitch.
No, it's not. But you wouldn't expect him to have such a good whiff game when it's all sinkers. And this was because his cutter came just out of left field and was an unhittable pitch for the Pirates. He threw 29% on Wednesday during game 1. His highest cutter percentage in any start since his second start of the year when he threw 37% of the time. Usually sits between 10-20%. He's kind of just been oscillating there all season. He had 10 whiffs and 23 swings. This one pitch. 2/3 of his whiffs in the entire game. And he got 5 strikeouts with it. He's never had more than 3 strikeouts with that pitch.
And for those of you at home, when you hear whiffs, we had a fantasy football draft from all the guys back home with Westfield. Spoke to Tommy. Shout out to Tommy and Mate. They're like, we're listening. It's great. But you guys mentioned whiff. I don't know what that means. So just in case anybody's out there and doesn't know what we mean by whiff, it's when you swing and you miss. That's a whiff.
Yeah. And a whiff percentage, which we talk about a lot, is just about your swings. Yes. So how many times you swing and how many you miss, that's your whiff percentage. There's another stat called swing strike rate that takes all of your pitches and how many times people swing through it. But I like to use whiff because, swing, because we got called strikes too. We're going to talk about some called strikes, deGrom in a little bit. But Bassitt was really just using that cutter a lot in the top of the zone, and the Pirates completely loaded this lineup with lefties today. I think they only had 1 or 2 lefties in the entire lineup, or 1 or 2 righties in the entire lineup in game 1. And he didn't throw 1 cutter against them, just lefty, high in the zone, high in the zone, high in the zone, high in the zone, crushing them. Awesome start. One of the most comfortable starts seems like he's had all season.
Yeah, no, Chris Bassitt looked awesome. We need that, depth, or I don't want to say depth going distance going into this game too, because we had the doubleheader, 7 innings, just exactly what the doctor ordered. He really was so great. He had that 6th inning too, where he got in a little bit of trouble, but got out of it. So
yeah, the Jack Sawinski at bat for a moment got a little bit scary.
Dude, Keith was killing me this game. Yeah. Did you hear what he was saying?
You can't give up a long ball. Be 5-4 after that. I was and Bassitt having curveball. I was like, ugh.
And then he was like, Sawinski's got a hole in his swing, and he fouled off a pitch right where he said that hole in his swing was. I was like, Keith, please, you played ball. You've done this all year. Stop.
It's all right. He's having his fun. Yeah, the doubleheader for just Gary and Keith alone, they were really just spouting off, having a ton of fun in there.
Oh, they were having a blast. And during the game, too, I thought it was funny. It was that because it was so empty, because it was a doubleheader and kids are back in school. Steve Gelbs.
And split admission.
Yes. Steve Gelbs was out in left field, but on the third base side with a glove. And he's like, I'm going to get a ball today. So his mission was to get one. He ended up getting one. And a 7-year-old Mets fan who lives in Pennsylvania now, who's from North Jersey, was like, let me get that ball. I've never got one in my life. Steve Gelbs is like, no, I've never got a ball either. This is mine. And then 7 other people just came over and started hounding him for the ball. It was like you got put in a dystopian world. I was like, what is, it's like they didn't know what was happening. They're like, can I have the ball? Can I have the ball? Can I have the ball? It was, I got anxiety watching it.
Why wouldn't Steve give up the ball?
He never got a ball at a game before. That was the first time.
Never got a ball.
I mean, Steve, with all due respect, we saw how he caught the first pitch. It doesn't look great. So I can understand why maybe he hasn't caught a ball. Yeah. He's also probably been busy working at games.
Yeah, also Yankee Stadium is also a difficult place to get balls. So that's probably kind of limited him there.
It was very, very funny. And then he had a great interview with the guy because he was like, it's a doubleheader in the Pirates game. We got to have some fun with this. He started asking him questions. The guy was like, Buck's got to get these guys to wake up. and then he was like, and that was our interview. Nice meeting you. He's like, I can't let him go on a tirade.
There was also the moment early where Gary and Keith were pontificating on the concept of the opener because the Pirates used Dwayne Underwood as an opener for Bryce Wilson this game. Bryce Wilson is just seemingly one of the most fun pitchers to hit in all of baseball. The Mets were just licking their chops to play at every at bat, but they were trying to name what they thought a bulk pitcher should be. They were a secondary starter.
They said bulk.
Yeah, they did say bulk, but I don't think they knew that was the actual term.
I think Gary said that was the actual term, and Keith said, I'm not calling it bulk, I'm calling him the starter. And Gary's like, well, he didn't start though, so it's not how it works.
Yeah. And then to wrap this game up, the bats started to wake up. They really woke up in game 3, but in this game we had back-to-back homers by our boys Naquin and Escobar, just running the bottom of the order. Love those guys are getting hot right now.
Yeah, Tyler
After
Naquin crushed it. 106 off the bat, I think.
With the series for Tyler Naquin and Eduardo Escobar. We'll talk about that when we wrap it up. 2 hits each for Pete and Nimmo. 3 hard hit balls each for Nimmo and Lindor. We only scored 5, but it felt like we easily could have had more. They were just lacing the ball all day. And that was a precursor for what would happen in game 3, where we just blew the doors off the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Which is exactly what needs to happen. With Jacob deGrom on the mound, there's no excuse to lose to the Pirates. You should bury them. You're way better than they are. And that's exactly what happened. The bats just went off, and deGrom was a freak on the mound like he has been all season long. Started off a little bit rough in the first inning, which was weird because he had 11 pitch at bat to Ben Gamble, and he couldn't get him to swing and miss. But after that, he kind of just started cruising.
It's hilarious how we call it a rough inning because he threw 18 total pitches in that inning. He gave up 2 blue hits. Like Oneil Cruz, kind of like a punch shot, and the Brian Reynolds was literally a bloop that just fell between Canna and Nimmo. Just Canna overran it. I think they both kind of misjudged it, but didn't matter. Then he got a double play, which was his first double play of the season.
Really?
Yes, that was very funny to hear. It seems like he's trying to get more ground balls, throw more changeups. Talk about that in a moment. And the 10 pitch at bat with Ben Gamble, where he was just freaking pest. He just got a slight piece of each one.
Isn't it funny too that, I mean, like you just said this, how we said he struggled and he had 18 pitches and had he had a 1-2-3 or whatever it was, or was it 1-2-3?
It was, I think 5 guys came to play because 2 hits, 1 double play.
Yes, you're right.
And then a four batter inning.
4 batter inning, we said was rough for Jacob deGrom.
Just
he's so on a different level than everybody else that pitches, like especially that we've seen in a while. So when you don't see him, and I think Gary even alluded to it on the broadcast, like when you don't see him just make people look foolish, it's so bizarre. You don't know what to do.
No, this was an uncomfortable Jacob deGrom start because a no-hitter was dead after the first batter.
Yeah, Oneil Cruz had a inside-out swing to left field, which he's a strong boy, so he can do that. Keith was loving Oneil Cruz this series too, by the way.
Yeah, strong boy is the perfect way to describe Oneil Cruz.
Strong boy.
This game, when it wrapped up, deGrom went 7 innings, 8 strikeouts, 3 hits, 1 walk, only threw 91 pitches. Looked like if he felt like it, he could have just pitched forever, but it ended up being a 10-run game, no use in pushing it. He gave up 4 base runners in this game in 7 innings, so sadly that pushed his full season whip up from 0.54 to 0.55, which, I mean, you might as well cut the guy. I don't really want him anymore. Yeah, you can't do that. There was a big adjustment by Jacob deGrom, though, in this game. I think it is a sign of things to come as we get closer and closer to the postseason. It was by far his most combined usage of changeups and curveballs any start this year. His previous high was his last start, and I called it out then too, 10% changeups, 5% curveballs. This start was 15% changeups and 11% curveballs. So he's definitely making concerted effort to throw each of those pitches more. He didn't even throw a changeup this season until his 3rd start.
Do you think that this is maybe also because of being around a guy like Scherzer, who's had to make tweaks to his game as time's gone on? You just become a little bit. I mean, Jacob deGrom's basically been throwing 2 pitches and been the best pitcher in baseball. This is also we saw, like you said, with the changeup and the curveball. It's almost a way to get easier, quicker at bats too, maybe when you're not just fishing for the strikeout.
I think for sure. I think it's a massive part of it. Jacob deGrom's not got many ground balls this year, and Jacob deGrom, while he's had quick innings, it's just I think eventually now with all teams are seeing him more. And it's weird when you watch these deGrom starts and really think about them, because not he's ever struggled in any particular instance. No. But you always do feel like he hits his relative wall, but that relative wall is just some more fly balls and foul balls. I just think these are new weapons for him. It's almost kind of maybe this is a little rude, but you try it out against the Pirates. He was doing against the Dodgers, I feel to try and get by them because he's trying to show them a new look. And you really try it against the Pirates, see what the pitches actually have. And each of the pitches were great. That changeup had 4 whiffs on 5 swings. And the curveball, I think, was just shocking them because he only threw it 10 times and they got 5 called strikes. Yeah,
I mean, again, no disrespect with the Pirates. They took a game from us this series. But imagine being, Oneil Cruz even, or some of the other guys that they had in this lineup, like Cal Mitchell, Jack Sawinski, Kevin Newman, seeing Jacob deGrom. You prepped all week for his fastball slider. That's elite. The 2 best pitches arguably in baseball by a guy. And then all of a sudden he's throwing you changeups and curveballs. You got to be this isn't fair. I wasn't ready for this. This was not on the test. How are you doing this to me?
His last start was the first time he threw a double-digit percentage of either of those pitches in over a year.
Yeah.
So you give it to a team that's some of the worst run production in baseball. Come on. And also, I do think that there is something about him just simply throwing less fastballs because he's basically throwing the same amount of slides and fastballs here, only a couple percentage points higher fastballs. Last start, it was the closest it's been in a while, basically even. And there's a lot of research that shows pitching injuries are a lot to do with velocity. So it's kind of you can't tell him to throw 75% because that's never going to work as a pitcher. So if you're still going to sit 98, 99, 100, which he was a little bit below 100 today too for most of the game. So maybe that's also something else they're trying. just throw a few less fastballs. These other pitchers are incredible. Like, didn't Chris Bassitt tell us that Jacob deGrom's one of the best changeups in baseball?
Yeah, that's what he told us. He was like, I think he's got the best changeup in baseball, and the guy just didn't even throw it.
Yeah, so just like the more ways he has to beat people is great. And I think there's a lot of like, he's kind of like basically like this spring training kind of just ended for Jacob deGrom.
That's
like
messed up.
Yeah, like this was his 7th start. Usually you make like 5 to 7, like a spring training period. So this is like now him getting a grip. And this is now we're going to do some of the crazy deGrom starts.
Yeah, we got to rattle these off.
Yeah. I got 2 big ones here. 38th straight start where he allowed 3 earned runs or fewer.
That's so insane. That's like more than one season in a row.
It's more than a season. It's more than an entire season of allowing 3 earned runs or fewer. Like, if you figure one time someone would get a home run, then like another rally later, but
people question if this is the best pitcher on planet Earth. Like, remember that conversation? People were saying he wasn't even the best pitcher in New York. He's the best pitcher on the planet.
Listen to that whip I said before. He's allowing a base runner every other inning.
It's insane.
It's awesome. It's freaking amazing. And then this, I think, is the craziest one. 6th straight start by Jacob deGrom, where he's retired 12 guys in a row.
There you go. Only
time it didn't happen was when we went to see him in Washington for that first one. So there's understandably some rust and like some nerves in that first start in a year. deGrom is the only pitcher to retire 12 straight at least 6 times this season. Only one. I think Wayne Randazzo said only 1 or 2 other guys have had 4.
Really?
Yeah. Straight starts, they retire 12 in a row.
It's a guy who's coming off and not pitching in a year.
12 in a row. That's literally every single start this year except one. He's had 4 perfect innings mixed in.
4 innings where you don't get to play baseball. You don't get to hit.
Nice try. He's so good. It's like it's so cool to watch him. And you can just tell that when he pitches on the road, Mets fans are making an emphasis to go to these games.
You know that like John Boy's video? You know who I'm talking about? John Boy's the SB Nation. SB Nation? Is that who it is? Whatever he does. No, John Boy's. The YouTube guy.
John Bois.
Yeah, John Bois. I think it's Boys, but
I'm pretty sure it's Bois.
I don't think it's Bois. I think it's we'll talk about that later. It's semantics. But he made that video about if Barry Bonds never swung, right?
Yeah.
I'm like waiting for a Jacob deGrom one to come out. Because like the number, like 4 innings, you don't get to play. Like that's something you don't hear too often.
And the coolest thing about this Jacob deGrom start was the bats came out and supported him heavily.
Which is awesome. We don't ever see that.
A lot of it had to do with Johan Oviedo just not throwing strikes, which, I mean, he's a guy, it's like, I feel like he just has pitches where if you threw him in the strike zone, like maybe they'd get hit. But he refused to do that. 5 walks in an inning and 2/3. Like that's just not good baseball to watch. Mets got 4 runs in the second. When that happened, capped off by a Lindor 2-run double, 3 more in the 4th, another Lindor double, McNeil single, Naquin, Escobar, Vogie, all chipped in RBI hits late. Like
Canna 2 doubles in this game.
Yeah, every starter scored at least 1 run besides Daniel Vogelback. Escobar had 4 hits. McNeil had 3. Lindor, Canna, Pete, and Naquin each had 2. We just needed one of these like games where you didn't have to think, and this was perfect.
Yeah, Escobar going 4 for 5 in this one. 6 hits on the day for Eduardo Escobar. The dude is swinging the bat really. Oh, nice.
And he smoked the ball like every single time up.
Yep. I mean, he's playing really, really good baseball in a time when we really do need him. He's helping out this bottom of the order. Tyler Naquin coming back, swinging the bat a little more consistently against a team that he loves to hit against. Also, did you know Eduardo, it's like PNC Park is one of the best parks he hits in his entire career. He loves hitting there. How many times has he even played there? He was on the Twins and the Diamondbacks.
He had that run with the Brewers end of last year, and he did have kind of a hot second half after that trade. So I feel like maybe that had to do it. But 1,300 OPS in 23 games, that's good. Naquin, also just a great day, 5 for 11. Oh, this is the full series. 5 for 11 with a homer, double, 4 RBIs, 2 runs scored. The Mets all together in a doubleheader Wednesday had 27 hits and 15 runs.
That's awesome. That's a great
day. For an offense that's bad. That's really good. I think I like this Escobar thing because I feel like he just kind of got that time on the shelf after kind of a rough half. He cleared his head. Maybe you never know what's aching these guys, nagging them, a wrist, a thumb, a hip. You get together there. He's a little bit older now. Guy's breather, and now he's really swinging the bat well from both sides of the plate as too.
That's what I was going to say is that I think that maybe like the time off helped him really freshen up and get ready for this last push here because he really does look a lot. I don't want to say like a lot better, but like he looks a lot like sharper right now. Like his takes are good. His foul balls have been good. Mets hit great foul balls.
Best foul balls in baseball.
Best foul balls in the league. I mean, got to lead the league in foul ball home runs. It's unbelievable. They hit like 3 in this series, but he's looked so much better. And it looks like the Eduardo Escobar that I think myself and a lot of Met fans expected to see over this entirety of the season.
Yeah, sure. But he also, I think he's still like bringing the vibes too. And after the home run today, when he got in the dugout, he pointed at somebody. I think it was Buck. I really think it was Buck. He said, "That one's for you. That one's for you." It was somebody. He was screaming that. It's like, all right, nice. Seems like to be a real emotional leader in this team. And then One of the funniest things about yesterday, when you guys listening to this, was that the Mets swept a doubleheader. 5th time they've done that this year.
Yep.
Tied for the most in franchise history with 1969.
Which is funny because like they would just straight up schedule doubleheaders.
Yeah, I think like every other Sunday. And the Mets all together this year in 9 doubleheaders are 14-4.
That's really good. That's really good because doubleheaders they're tough. They're hard. They're really not meant to be swept.
Because we got all the experience from doubleheaders last season.
The Mets are just that's the difference between the Mets and this year and last year. We're cleaning up these doubleheaders, and they've been so good in rubber games too this year, which we've talked about. It usually happens because we win game 1 and lose game 2, but 16-4 in rubber games this season. That sounds great.
I think a little bit of that is why the Mets fans got so nervous after game 1 too, because like humans are creatures of habit. Like we like things the way they are, and we this year as Mets fans, we've gotten so used to this team that it has like a 650 winning percentage about be like, okay, we win game 1, lose game 2, win game 3. Do that bang, 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 bang. So suddenly you lost to game 3 and then you lost to game 1. And all these Mets fans were like out of their comfort zone. Like, I can't do this. We're terrible. We can't win anymore.
No, there was no doubt that it was definitely a tight. I was feeling a little tight after those games. But man, having these last 2 of the doubleheader, again, this is what they should have been doing. So there's not necessarily a need for like applause here, but they got the job done. They looked like the Mets that we knew that they were all year long. And it just kind of shows that I feel like the bad games, I mean, we know this, but the bad games are the anomaly. And this is really more what the team is like. I mean, they've won so many games. It still does blow my mind when people are ready to just, I saw something that the Mets are going to miss the playoffs. I was like, what planet do you live in? What just happened?
The jinx strikes again. The Cardinals with a massive 9th inning rally beat the Nationals, saved the series.
No way. James.
I just saw a live jinx. How do you feel?
Wow, your powers are...
They're unfathomable.
Someone's got to pay you for those. I mean...
But the thing is, I can't control it. Whenever I try to do it intentionally, it almost never works. It just has to be organic.
I think it's just like to have you around and just give takes.
Yeah, just start talking, so the opposite will happen.
Whatever's in your head, just share it so that we can figure out what the opposite is and really start running with it.
Kyle Finnegan with a rough 5 earned in 2/3 of an inning. Oh my goodness gracious.
That's Kyle Finnegan for you.
Yeah, good. I mean, I'm particularly happy the Cardinals won that for other reasons, but nice. Good stuff.
I want to give a shout out to a big hit James McCann.
Yes.
A hit in this game, 1 for 3, and he walked twice. Had some really good at-bats, extended the innings a couple times as well, which is big.
He's swinging the bat well. Neither even had a nice double in game 1, too. The things are fun when the bottom of your order hits.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, and I also love McNeil hitting 4, by the way. I love it.
It's just, it's for that second leadoff, and I think Jeff McNeil, as we know, is a very good leadoff hitter.
Yeah, so I'm cool with this lineup. I'm cool with it. I mean, obviously, when Marte comes back, it's probably going to be McNeil 5. You move everybody back down.
Sure, but it's also it's important that Charlie Marte can go down. Tyler Naquin can just step in and be like, I'm good. And Mark Hanna can be the other side, be like, I'm also still good.
Oh,
also,
it's absolutely sick.
Jacob deGrom won his 5th game tonight. He's only made 7 starts. In terms of his career, that's unbelievable. 2018, he had a 1.7 ERA for the season, only won 10. He made 32 starts.
That is pretty incredible. I mean, it's a good Mets team. I mean, that's the difference between them in 2018.
I guess. But even 2019, the team was okay. He won 11, also in 32 starts.
Yeah, poor Jacob deGrom. But
those 2 years, it was 422 innings, and he won 21 games. Come on,
it's like Cy Young type stuff.
There's one season for Walter Johnson,
the gentleman's hurler. Yeah, as you guys can tell, we are a lot happier recording this episode than we were the last one. I mean, the losing ones are never fun. They're never fun. The winning's way more fun than losing. And anyone who tells you differently is a liar.
And this whole month is kind of just like a tease until that last series against the Braves. Like we're all just looking at that. The Braves are looking at that. The Mets are looking at that. The reporters are asking both teams about it after games. The announcer are talking about it every game. It's just this. We're all just waiting for that series, and it's going to be very exciting when it happens. Unless the Mets clinch before that.
Definitely. And it's football time too. We bring in John here. We've been doing our fantasy football drafts while also watching these games. I ran 2 drafts tonight. I mean, it's been a pretty hectic time. A lot of different things going on. John, how was your week this week?
It was pretty good. Monday was it was a slow day. Let's put it that way. But Labor Day, I guess it's what it's for. Mark, I got to call you out on something. I'm sorry, but I just got to go straight for the jugular.
Oh no.
You were talking earlier about how there wasn't much panic in you, and I will give you guys credit. You guys are very level-headed Mets fans.
Thank you.
And that's obviously not an easy thing to do. But so full transparency for all the listeners.
Oh, I know where we're going with this.
Yes. At around maybe noon today, I get a text from Mark saying, "Are you going into the office today?" And the answer was yes. I was here for the NYCFC game here tonight at Citi Field. And I said, "Yeah, I'm going for a little bit. Why? What's up?" I don't know if Mark wants me to like get him a hat or I don't know. And Mark says to me,
I'll take a hat. I'll never say no.
Yeah, shirt maybe.
Can you throw the rally bun away? And I'm thinking to myself, has he really just turned coat on this great piece of bread that quickly? I mean, it wasn't even a week ago. It was less than a week ago.
6 days.
The rally bun, 6 days, that the rally bun had helped the Mets get past the mighty Dodgers in a 3-game series. Less than 6 days later, Mark wants that thing in the garbage. That's panic, if you ask me, Mark.
Yeah, there was a lot going on. I was, like I said, I felt a little tight. I was feeling a little bit tight, and I know the power that some items and things have superstitions. And I thought maybe the rally bun, we tried to play God, and obviously the baseball gods maybe didn't like that. I was like, sometimes you just got to let things happen. Sometimes you can't try and plan things. And the rally bun felt like at the time that maybe we were trying to plan something and push it a little bit too hard. So I was worried. I got scared. Not going to lie. Wasn't one of my proud moments.
I tried to level out the energy today because I remember when the Mets swept that doubleheader against the Braves about a month ago. I was on my bike for most of the day, but also watched the first game. So today was reverse. I watched the first game during the day, and then I just wound up on my bike doing some errands, like going around, hanging out with people. And when I was coming back, the Mets had that rally against Oviedo, scored the run. So I was like, you know what? I got to stay on this bike until the game's out of reach. And I just started running some errands. I went all the way to Trader Joe's and the Williamsburg waterfront just to stay active and do some stuff.
You just biked all around because the Mets were pushing runs across. That's
I biked for like an hour straight just because the Mets Mets were hot.
I mean, listen, that's what you got to do for this team sometimes. And you know what? Hand up. John's right. I asked for the execution of the rally bun.
Wait, did you do it?
I said it needs to be destroyed. I didn't just say throw it out. I said it needs to be destroyed. I was sweating a little
John,
bit.
what was your plan to destroy a frozen bun?
I'm not destroying the frozen. I believe in that rally bun, and I think it was way premature for Mark to be pulling the plug on the rally bun because a couple of things went wrong. The Mets lost 3 in a row, couple of injuries. We're not getting rid of the rally bun. That's not how it works.
No, you're right. It's staying. It's staying. It is no longer in my hands. It's no longer in my hands. That's all I'm going to say. It's in the baseball gods' hands, and they do with it as they please.
Of course. And, just a little bit more on today, which was obviously a much-needed day of Mets baseball. To sweep a doubleheader is not an easy thing, and we've gotten a little spoiled with it this year. But I'm sure, and I didn't – 5. I didn't look, but I'm assuming that the league average on doubleheader sweeps or records, the vast majority of them are splits. The vast majority. So after you lose last night's game, then you're kind of in danger of losing 2 or 3 because the tall task is to sweep the doubleheader.
Yeah.
And they've done it over and over and over and over again this season. It's just impressive. It really is.
It's Bassitt, a series swinger too. Yeah. Just knock out 2 games like that. It's unbelievable.
Bassitt also talked about it after game 1 of the doubleheader, game 2 of the series, where he was like, yeah, no, people were going crazy again on Twitter, saying the same thing. He's like, we keep doing our thing. We don't care. Like,
it's funny the players acknowledge it because Howie and Wayne talked about the players acknowledging it as well. Like they acknowledge it themselves, but they were like, it's just funny. These guys are aware that like 80, no, not 80 is a little high. Maybe 70, 65% of their fans are like literally living and dying on every single pitch when they're over 35. They're 35 games over 500 in the middle of September.
I feel like the Mets also are one of those teams that, like, I don't want to say is rare, but they have a lot of guys who are active on some sort of social media, but like in a good way where they're not like, replying to tweets and stuff. They just like, they post on Instagram or they post like a picture on Twitter or a video. So I think they're just like taking in this stuff, but it's great to hear that they like don't care. Cause as we've known with players and teams and other people in the past, like that can get to some people for sure. So I think that speaks a lot to this Mets team that they're like, oh yeah, like we love you guys as fans, but don't really care about if you think the season's over or not. It's not important.
Well, I mean, it's obviously, as you guys know, it's such a long season, and
so long.
You're gonna lose a game to Pittsburgh. In 2006, the Mets went to Pittsburgh with a chance to clinch the division. I think they just needed 1 win, and they were swept out of Pittsburgh. The worst thing that happened in that series is Pedro had a toe injury that wound up turning into a lot more. But at that point, and the Pirates were dead in the water. I mean, the Pirates, other than what, team. 2012 and 13.
14, 15, they had some good runs too.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. In 15, they won 97 games.
They just kept getting bounced in the wild card.
Exactly, because the NL Central had 3 teams that were great that year: Cubs, Cardinals, Pirates. Let that be a lesson also,
The irony.
the Mets fans, that this is just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes in divisional play.
I mean, we saw it last year with the Giants and Dodgers. It's mirroring that season. It's the same thing. And
there was a shocking amount of former, or like at one point, Mets on this 2006 Pirates team, by the way.
2006 Pirates.
I'm just going to read off some of the names. So we've got hold on, wait. Let me check this one guy first before I make this comment. But I'm like pretty sure. Okay, so Ronnie Paulino, he's one of them.
He was on that team, right? Because he was in the trade.
Xavier Nady, he was on that team. Jose Bautista was on that team. Jason Bay was on that team. Jeremy Burnitz was on that team.
So most guys that weren't already Mets that were going to become Mets down the road.
Rajay Davis was on this team.
Eventual Mets.
Oliver Perez was on this team.
Oliver Perez was a Met at the time of that series I'm talking about. That was the mid-season trade after the Eduardo Sanchez.
He was a 2006 Pirate. Like, there is a shock, and I'm sure I'm missing a couple like random fringe guys here. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if, I don't know, some other guy on this list made it, but there was a lot of guys at some point that made it through this Mets organization on the 2006 Pirates.
Was Ty Wigginton there?
He was not there this year. No,
Roberto Hernandez was on that Pirates team because he came with Oliver Perez.
Yes, he was. Yes. 41-year-old Roberto Hernandez.
He was the guy the Mets wanted in that trade because they needed to replace Dwanner.
Yes.
Man, that's ridiculous.
I have terrible flashbacks to finding out about the Dwanner incident. I keep calling it that. We'll leave it there. I was on a trip to Montreal with sleepaway camp, which is it's very me. I know.
And, a sleepaway camp in Montreal. You had to have a passport to go to this one?
No. So it was
you did not need a passport.
How'd you get in and out of the country?
I did need a passport. The camp was not in Montreal. It was in Maine. And I think when you were the second oldest level, you went on a trip to Montreal. Or maybe it was the oldest. It was the oldest level. It was the senior year. So we went to Montreal, trade deadline, and I would always schedule one of my 4 or 5 phone calls you get with your parents on trade deadline day. Like, I learned about the Scott Kazmir trade on the phone at Camp Wildwood. Shout out Camp Wildwood. My dad had to tell me about it. He told me about Rick Peterson and fix him in 15 minutes. And I found out about this trade, the same thing, 2 years later. And my dad told me about Oliver Perez, and I loved Oliver Perez when he was a Pirate, especially in 2004. He was dirty and wasn't having a great 2006. And he told me, that the Pirates threw in Oliver Perez too. I was so hyped about it.
Wow.
And little did I know he'd be pitching 2022. He was here opening day this year. Pitching for the Diamondbacks.
Yep.
Always a low-key legend. What do you think about that?
No.
How can you say that?
I will never forgive him. I'm just going to put it like that.
I was at the Friday. I was at the Friday night game in 2017 when he gave up 4 in the first inning.
He's had a couple moments in
the Marlins
Mets history where he's.
I saw a dude at Shea Stadium literally unloading a garbage can after the game. Fists of fury. I'll never forget it. I was 10 years old. I was like,
didn't Oliver Perez give up the home run to Scott Spezio?
No, he did not.
Was it Heilman?
No, that was Moda.
Okay.
You guys were talking about Moda last episode. I wanted to try and be like, no Moda talk on the podcast.
I found the amended Jacob deGrom stat. I'd like to share it.
Oh, share it with us, please.
So 6 starts in a row. Jacob deGrom's retired at least 12 in a row. He actually has retired more than that, 3 of those times. Nobody else in 40 years has retired 12 in a row in more than 4 straight starts.
Yeesh.
So the live ball era mostly.
Oliver Perez did such a bad NLCS for us. Okay. I needed to really live that for like a second.
A moment.
Oliver Perez came up big in Game 7. Anyway, I have another deGrom stat to add for you, James. I look back to last year to tack on, kind of if we call this a continuation, which it's not, but he didn't have a full season last year. He's now made 22 starts since the start of last year. He's allowed 1 or no runs in 16 of them. And it's just another way of contextualizing just how incredibly dominant this guy has been. I mean, 16 of 22, 1 or no runs allowed. That is
stupid. It
really is. And here's the thing about the Scherzer situation. The Mets were without him for 6-7 weeks earlier this season.
6.
And DeGrom. Exactly. They weathered the storm with no DeGrom and no Scherzer. This team has Jacob deGrom going every 5th day. And although we learned last weekend and on Tuesday night as well that you got to beat the teams ahead of you, And these teams that are kind of dead in the water still have guys playing with pride and have guys playing for jobs next season.
And have guys playing for arbitration money.
And there's a lot of reasons why guys on teams that we don't think are trying and playing hard each and every night.
Very much trying.
1,000,000%. But having said all of that, the Mets schedule it's in a kind place, if you would, given these circumstances, Scherzer and Marte. It's not the end of the world if the Mets take care of their business.
Especially with the depth they have. Like, we have David Peterson to come back. Tyler McGill's like knocking on the door of joining this roster. Probably not in a starting role, but at least in some capacity. Tyler Naquin's starting to hit the ball. Luis Guillorme's on rehab assignment. Like, there are guys on this team who can pick up the slack. And for a team that's been remarkably healthy all season long, like, we can do this.
100%. I'll add one to you. You guys were talking about Eduardo Escobar. He only has 2 strikeouts in his last 23 plate appearances. That, to me, is the biggest thing. He's not swinging and missing, especially from the left side, which was an issue for the first 4 months when he was having struggles. He's not doing it right now. So you're right. This team it's a long lineup each and every night. It might not be everyone hitting at the same time, like tonight, game 2, where you put up 10 runs, but there's always someone getting the job done. And that's what I like about this team a lot.
Yeah.
John, quick question for you for the people. We teased the hell out of the Max Scherzer interview last week. With the injury news, we kind of all decided that probably wasn't the best time to release it. What's the bonus content looking like for the people this week?
So we got a Tomas Nido interview that's going to be ready to come out. I'm hoping to have that out on Friday. We are going to hold off on Scherzer for a little bit, unfortunately, with the injury. But Max will be back, and that interview will be out. And like you guys said last episode, it was great. And we also have a Tyler Naquin interview for the people. So we've got bonus and Mark Hanna. And Mark Hanna was great, too.
Awesome.
Definitely don't want to forget about Mark Hanna. We got to get we got to get it going. We got to get that going next homestand at Citi Field. Yes. Hopefully get that up on the board.
Print the shirts.
Yeah, and we've got some more content planned also. Something else really cool is in the works. So that's all that. But I know you guys wanted to talk about fantasy, and then we got to get to estimate as well. What do you want? What do you want to do first, fantasy or estimate?
Let's do estimate first, just because I think that's hot, and then we can kind of relax, talk a little fantasy for a couple minutes because James is the fantasy guy here.
I have one terrible fantasy story, and then I'll leave it at that. But estimate. I mean, we probably haven't had a closer one up until this week. The fastest throw by an infielder was clocked at 92.28 by Oneil Cruz. And can you guys guess? I might have told you, but maybe you don't remember. Who had the fastest throw by any player in the series?
You said it was Naquin.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tyler Naquin. This was the Tyler Naquin series. He had a throw from the outfield clocked at 95.6.
That's awesome.
That's pretty good.
That's a hose right there.
That's pretty good. That is Ched. So that brings it to 8-6 now, I believe, is where we're
8-6.
Mark got me by like half.
Yeah, thank goodness I changed my number from the memes,
changed mine too.
96.9 for the memes to a solid 94.6 because I was like, James is going to go. I know James, he's an underman. He's always going to pick the lower side of things. He went 90, which was great.
I was at 93.5 and I went down to 95. Oh my God.
Yeah, you had it. You're letting me right back into this. I appreciate it.
LGM has 2 meetings. Let's go Mets. Let's go Mark.
All right.
So it's now 8-6. And good news for you guys. I didn't even tell you. I'm telling you live on the pod. Our new scoreboard graphic dropping in right now. That'll be in post-production. But we got a new little animated graphic keeping us abreast of where we're at here as we go along. Only eight series left, I believe.
Sure, that sounds right.
7 or 8.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's like 7 or 8. So we're coming down to the nitty gritty, and this episode's estimate is going to be the average attendance across the 3 games between the Mets and Marlins in Miami. So it's going to be a simple calculation, just so we're all on the same page. We will take the announced attendance for each game. We'll add them all up. We'll divide them by 3. That'll be our number. And right now, it's not going well in Miami for a team that's lost 9 straight games.
This is really tough. Oh, man, what do? You know that there's going to be a lot of Mets fans there, but you also know there's probably going to be less Marlins fans than there have been all year because they are not playing particularly good baseball as of right now, as you said. So,
yeah.
Where do we go here? I've got a number I'm going to rock with, and I think the Mets fans are going to do me proud. I'm going to go with I mean, I don't know if they're going to do me proud. I mean, it's still the Marlins, so it's not this. They're going to be most of this, though. But
the capacity is listed as 36,742.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's not going to get even close to that. Where do I want to go here? I'm going to go with. Okay, I got my number. And this is the winner. We're going to box it because that's how confident I am. When you box something, you know it's right.
I feel like James is in his own head now. Mark has got a swagger about him when it comes to this. And I just saw James peek up and was like, huh.
It's like it's like I'm guessing how many jelly beans are in the jar. Like I was always good at that. You tell me a number compared to someone else guessing a number, I'm going to win.
All right, we showing?
Yeah, let's show them.
All right. 3, 2, 1.
Bang. Whoa, he went low again. Let's go.
Big switch. Let's see it.
James, so here's what I got for you, James. I think you have no chance. And here's why.
Why?
Because I did some research. I looked it up. In the time that I was pontificating, I did some research. Marky numbers over here. So when the Mets and the Marlins have played this year, they have only gotten under 10,000 fans a total of 0 times.
Oh, that's not good.
So they hover around 12 to 19,000.
Where'd you even find that?
Oh, you're a Fangraphs boy, right? So you don't know about all this stuff.
Your baseball reference.
Baseball reference
You can do attendance splits?
Oh, yeah, no, you don't.
It's on there.
It's on there. You go to their schedule and results, and you can find attendance. And I saw that Friday night's low. Saturday and Sunday is usually higher, 17 to 19,000.
Well, if you get one of those, I'm done.
Yeah, I mean, if as long as 10,000 people show up on Friday and it's not like 200 people, like straight up 200, I think I got this one.
Not good for me.
Nah, I'm a numbers guy. Baseball reference right here, baby. 15069.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the lowest attendance. So the lowest attendance for a home game at Marlins Park was 6,224. That was against the Diamondbacks
as it should
on May
be.
2nd.
Yeah. The Diamondbacks fans didn't want to go see Jazz Chisholm, and the Marlins fans didn't want to see Zach Gallen.
Great trade for both.
Really was a great trade for the both.
Sneaky, one of the worst trades like in this era of baseball, probably the worst, is Zach Gallen and Sandy Alcantara for Marcell Ozuna, the Cardinals. The Cardinals, devoid of pitching Cardinals, trading literally the two best pitchers in the National League right now, besides they're not on the Mets, for 1 year of Marcell Ozuna.
Don't forget Magneuris Sierra as well was in that trade.
No, I forgot him.
As you should be. Yeah, man, as long as the Mets fans show up, I'm feeling good. I also realize I think we don't say the number sometimes, which we probably should. We forget that not everybody watches the video.
True. I was 10,900.
I was 15,069.
Had to get a nice guess in there.
Of course, very nice.
Extremely nice. You know what's not nice? All right, let me just tell you my quick fantasy story because this is one of the worst things that I've done ever. So Monday night, I go home, see my parents, my sisters, my brother-in-laws, and I'm in a fantasy football league with them. Shout out Rob, Greg, Allie, Michelle. They'll be at the game on Friday against the Pirates. And my sisters have gotten into fantasy football. If you told me 10 years ago this would happen, I'd say absolutely not. I don't know if you guys have a similar thing. Wasn't a thing growing up. Are your sisters into? You said you do or don't have sisters?
I'm an only child. My parents had one, and they said, "What a perfect child this is. We're good here."
That's unreal.
Well, anyway, I'm under the impression this draft's at 8:00. Some wise guy, I think, makes it 7:45, and I'm
so
putting
funny.
And in my queue, I added 3 guys: Saquon, Damian Pierce, and Isaiah Pacheco.
Oh no. Those were your first 3 picks.
I get a call at like 8:02 saying, dude, why are you on auto draft? And yeah, those are my first 3 picks.
Oh my God. You got Isaiah Pacheco as the 3rd round pick.
What pick did you have?
I think the 6th or 7th and the 12th in a 14-team league. So
relying on Saquon, nothing can go wrong.
Oh man, that's tough.
Saquon I'm actually not that bummed about.
Yeah, that's not the worst one. That's definitely the best one out of all of those.
Yeah, Pacheco is the rough in the 3rd.
I think Pierce is just being way overdrafted right now. I don't think he had more than 15 carries any game in Florida last year.
I have a friend that's a big Florida football fan. Apparently, Damien. Apparently, he's sick. He's really, really good. It's just
he's definitely good.
Dan Mullen had no clue how to use him.
All right. Well, hopefully they'll give him more carries, but there's I don't know. There's a lot of college guys who've never really gotten those carries, have never really gotten them in college. It's kind of weird looking back.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he is the RB1 though, right?
He's for sure the RB1. No one even in contention to take those.
Rex Burkhead.
Rex Burkhead has the change of pace.
Works hard. Gritty guy. My leagues, I've done 3 drafts. I liked the draft that I did first, and It happened to be in a draft that was with a lot of Twitch streamers. So I don't know if necessarily all of them were as big of football fans as maybe us here, but I had a great draft. I love my team that I got there. Just an elite core of receivers with Cooper Kupp, CeeDee Lamb, and Terry McLaurin. Like that's a great 1-2-3 there. But then I did my league back with all the guys from Westfield since we've been doing it since I think 2007 or 2008. So it's a really, really old league, which is awesome to still be doing. I had the 6th pick. I hated it. I'm just going to read through this starting lineup really quick, and you're going to be like, oh yeah, this team's going to finish like 4-10. It's not going to be very good. Aaron Rodgers at quarterback, Saquon at running back, Zeke at running back. Then my receivers are Cooper Kupp, who's on every single one of my teams, Mike Evans, and Hollywood Brown. Tight end is Irv Smith Jr. because I picked him in the last round. Devin Singletary is my flex, Broncos D, and Tyler Bass. I was just like, I got caught in the middle of everything. And in a league with guys who really know what they're doing and put a lot of time and effort into this, every single guy I wanted got picked like 1 or 2 picks right before me, which was really tough because I put all my eggs in those guys' baskets.
Yeah, I actually haven't had a draft in like a full week just because the leagues have been happened to like knock him out earlier, which is weird. Like my most high profile draft was like over 2 weeks ago at this point.
That's crazy.
So I've just been like, we've had like waiver runs go through, which is bizarre. But like I've just been staring at that team, like waiting for the other shoe to drop. But like I'm pretty happy. I mean, football starting later tonight. You guys listen to this. Great that falls on a Mets off day. Could just sit down, focus on what should be a great game between the Bills and the Rams. Football's great. Like now that we're gonna have like this September, but in October with Mets baseball and professional and college football is going to be tittillating.
Is there something where
setup?
Yeah, you
what's
go.
Your setup?
Oh, I mean, I don't have a great setup. I like to go to friends' houses or bars to set things up. Or now I'll go to the Mojo office on Sundays and watch with like the 100 TVs we have there because it's just freaking an incredible place. But like tomorrow, I'll use an HDMI adapter, plug the one laptop in the TV, have the other laptop tweeting.
There you
That's
go.
the move.
Yeah, I mean,
what about you, Mark?
I think our old roommate Alex, he's going to come over to my apartments here for the first time, and whoever else wants to come of the friends is welcome to come join as well. So try to watch football over here in Astoria. What about you, John?
Ooh, I forgot to tell a story real quick. I was going to say because I want to. Well, one loyal listener to the show is frustrated that I've been name dropping people and I haven't name dropped him. So what my longest running fantasy league, we've been playing it since we were, I think, in like 3rd or 4th grade. It died this year. Enough people finally said enough's enough and walked out of the league. Really disappointing, really sad. But after all my friends bailed out of the Ohio State trip that we had planned, they literally all bailed out of this fantasy league too. So it's
That's
just
awful.
Oh, it's complete death. And again, our commissioner in this league, he shall not be named because he wants to be named so badly. I'm never going to say his name again. He tried. He did everything he could. He gave the guilt trip. He gave draft day options. People
I know who it is.
Yeah. His initials are CO.
Okay. Yeah.
I also want to shout out because that guy's dad, Mr. O'Donnell, Johnny O, he was listening to the Mets game on the radio a couple nights ago, and Howie and Wayne mentioned us by name again. And we're talking about our show. Yeah. Wayne was talking about how the interview was, and Howie goes, Wayne, how long was your interview with them? Wayne was like 45 minutes, and Howie apparently was like, oh. And Wayne's like, yeah, they'll probably went 3 or 4 hours with you. So that's an open invitation to Howie that he can come on for literally as long as he wants. We could do a 14-hour marathon with Howie Rose if he felt like it.
Wayne was a solid 30 minutes. I was checking the phone. I was making sure. We're pros here.
Wayne had some stuff to do, and he was great. And we got a lot of stuff in 30 minutes also.
Definitely.
Yeah, but it's funny. Shout out Mr. O'Donnell, Johnny O, proud member of my old neighborhood growing up. Because that's the best O'Donnell I can shout out tonight.
Wow.
Mark, who did I have to shout out? What was his name again?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we got a review.
Yes.
You guys should leave reviews for us because if you leave funny ones, we will read them out on the podcast. This one comes from Big Bin Buddy on September 3rd. And he said, happy birthday, John, but he spelled John with an H. He did rate it 5 stars, though. That's big. So.
That's fine. That's worth it. Every single fan can spell your name wrong, John, if they rank as 5 stars.
I'll take the H for the 5-star rating. That's no problem. Anything for the show. So Sunday, Mark, you asked what I'm doing. I'm actually not going to really be in front of a TV. Unfortunately, I'll be traveling back from Houston, doing a little Angels, Astros stat work in Texas. Nice. My first time in Texas. Have you guys been there?
I have
Mark Half lives there.
I've spent quite a bit of time in Texas. It's where my girlfriend lives. But Houston, Minute Maid, that's a great ballpark. It's an awesome ballpark. I don't know. I'm assuming that's where you're going to be. I'm going to
Minute Maid.
I went there when they were really, really bad, when they still had the pinstripe jerseys. And Jose Altuve was just coming up in that game. We sat behind home plate in like the club section. It was like $40 for a ticket. And Jose Altuve hit a leadoff inside the park home run, which was really cool.
Was this National League Astros you're talking about?
No, I actually don't know now, but they had like
Altuve. He came up like 2012, 2013.
Yeah,
that was after they made the switch.
13 was their first year in the American League, if I'm not mistaken.
I'll tell you exactly what
first year.
I think it might have been. It was 2011, I believe, because
that's National League Astros.
Okay, because Jason Bourgeois was on the team, if that's a name, and he had a really good song at the time as his walk up, and I was like, oh, I like this song.
Do you remember the song?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I can say the title of the song, but it was a Jay-Z and Kanye West song. It has a really good beat.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah. I don't think it's appropriate to say on.
Does it include a foreign city?
That's what.
It's about Paris. Yeah, it's about Paris. Yeah. Good song, great song. I wasn't aware of the song until Jason Bourgeois. I don't even know how to say his name. Came up to the plate in that game.
It doesn't sound right.
That also sounds like. That sounds like
but you are talking about the Bourgeois. That's very relevant to Paris.
Yes. Oh, maybe that's why he did it.
All right. We've been going on for long enough here.
All right, John, thank you for the estimate. We appreciate you. And we're going to go ahead and talk about the Marlins and wrap this one up here. What do we got for pitching matchups here, James?
The Mets right now don't have a listed starter for Friday night. I guess that probably lines up for another Peterson, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, yeah, I think that makes sense. And
that
Carrasco's,
feels right.
I think, due for a rotation.
Yeah, because Carrasco Saturday, Taiwan Sunday. We're going to see Eduardo Cabrera, Pablo Lopez, and Jesus Luzardo. So even though we're not getting Sandy Alcantara, we're getting like 3 above-average pitchers, which is just a really tough trade for the Mets to make. Eduardo Cabrera is especially interesting. He throws the hardest changeup in baseball. Sits like 92, 93, 94. It's a pretty ridiculous pitch.
Yeah,
I don't think we've seen him this year either. I remember we saw him a year or two ago before when he wasn't he didn't have it yet, but he absolutely has it right now.
Yeah, no, he's been cruising for this team. I mean, their pitching has been their best. I don't know if it's been good necessarily all year, but that's definitely been the bright spot of this team for sure.
Yeah, and then Pablo Lopez is usually good, but not often against us, so that's cool. And Jesus Luzardo also just has a wicked changeup. It's a big changeup. And Pablo Lopez, dude, big changeup series for the Mets.
Big changeup series. All right. I mean, we've talked about the Marlins. We play some ball. We've talked about the Marlins a bunch. They still have no Jazz Chisholm. They cut Jesus Aguilar, so it's a little bit different on the offensive side. But the Mets should be just keep hitting and playing the way they have been against these last 2 games against the Pirates and how they played against the Dodgers and all year long, and you'll be good.
Here are the last 10 Marlins games. Their run totals: 2-1, 2-2, 1-1, 1-1, 2-3.
That is a factual statement.
Let's go. That's a factual statement, and let's keep that going.
Let's keep that going. I think that is a perfect place for us to wrap up here. We can't talk about the Marlins much more. I mean, we're going to have a whole episode.
We talked about fantasy football instead of the Marlins. That was a trade we made.
And that's way better. I think you guys enjoyed that
trade.
too.
Fantasy football is awesome.
Yeah, fantasy football is awesome. If you guys have any fantasy football teams, send it to us. Let's see who's got the best fantasy football team among the Mets'd Up listeners. We'd love to see that. Send us to out on Twitter, Instagram, whatever it is. Make sure you're following us on all our social media at Mets'd Up. We're going to be doing a Mark Cannonball giveaway probably
next
this
week?
Maybe upcoming soon, very, very soon. Yeah. We're going to drop one for you guys. So make sure you're following us at Mets'd Up. If you're looking for the YouTube video, YouTube channel, New York Mets YouTube channel, go watch over there. Like we said, if you're listening, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Odyssey, drop us a rating, drop us a review, download, subscribe, whatever you got to do. Drop us a review and say happy birthday to John and spell his name wrong. Whatever you got to do is great.
Yeah, and you get roast all of us, roast John, spell his name wrong in the reviews. Give us 5 stars. If it's funny, we'll read it.
Yep. Follow James at
James_Shiano.
And follow me at Giraffe Neck Mark with a C. Thank you guys for listening and watching, and we'll catch you after the Marlins series. Peace out.
Peace out, guys. See you next time.
Get up, get up, get up.